The hull trembled as if something alive was clawing at it, and Adam Kerrigan had both hands locked on the control stick, fighting the drift that kept pulling his ship toward the gravity well of the border beacon. The old transport was never meant for precision flying, its systems whining at every microburn correction he tried to make. Sweat rolled down his cheek as the proximity sensors screamed red, a steady pulse in his ears louder than the engines. He could feel the line in front of him, like a wall no one had ever broken, a line where every warning in every human spaceport said the same thing. Cross, and you do not come back. The seat harness bit into his shoulder as the ship pitched slightly. Left, the nav system trying to compensate for the illegal stealth rig bolted onto its belly. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from that bone-deep awareness of what he was doing. There was no insurance that covered this kind of flight. No court appeal if he was caught. This was exile in one push of a throttle, and he knew it. The memory of Sarah's voice over her last recorded message cut through his focus. A quiet laugh, followed by static and a single muffled scream, and then nothing. That silence was louder than the alarms. The ship's comm crackled, dragging him back. Unidentified vessel. Halt immediately or be fired upon. The voice was alien, clipped, deep with that strange metallic resonance common to the Talaran species. Adam's thumb hovered over the transmit button. He knew what would follow, if he tried to explain himself. Humans were banned from conquered space, their unpredictable nature written into treaties that carved out the galaxy like fenced neighborhoods. A human ship crossing was not just a violation, it was a political trigger. He swallowed the lump in his throat, eyes flicking to the countdown in the corner of the console. 5 seconds before their lock engaged, his ship was old, scavenged from a salvage yard near Titan, its hull patchwork and uneven. What it did have, though, was a pulse emitter. Buried in its spine, a weapon so illegal even owning the parts could land you in prison for life. Adam had bought it from a man who did not give names, paid in unmarked credits, and promised himself he would never use it unless there was no other choice. He thought about Sarah again, about how she had begged him not to give up on himself after their parents' accident, about how she had been the one person who believed he was better than the wreck he had become. That was before the Conquered took everything beyond reach and told humanity to stay in its corner like a dangerous pet. He tightened his grip on the stick, whispering to no one, "Hang on, Sarah." A shadow fell across the ship's nose, and the stars vanished as something enormous decloaked ahead. The Talaran warship was a wedge of obsidian plates, its weapons pods blooming like steel flowers as they rotated toward him. The voice on the comm sharpened. "This is your final warning, human. Cut power and surrender." Adam exhaled, steady, then hit the emitter. The pulse rippled invisibly through space, a silent scream of energy that slammed into the warship, killing its lights and throwing it into a slow, helpless spin. He was already pushing the engines to maximum, feeling the old ship shudder dangerously as it clawed away from the beacon. His chest burned, not from the acceleration, but from the awareness of what he had just done. On his radar, the warship hung dead for now, but Adam knew it would not stay that way for long. He stared at the blinking edge marker on his console, the one that had defined human boundaries for 100 years. It faded as he passed it, replaced by nothing but open space. A strange mix of triumph and dread twisted in his gut. He was in forbidden territory, where no human ship had gone since the treaty, carrying nothing but desperation and a promise to someone who might already be gone. For a moment, all he could hear was the hum of the engine and his own breathing, too loud inside his helmet. Then another light blinked on his console, one that was not supposed to be there, one marked with no registry codes at all. Adam leaned forward, scanning the display. Something was following him, fast, with no transponder and no visible hull signature. It was too small to be a warship and too fast to be debris. The sensors tried to adjust, recalculating its trajectory, then froze as if something scrambled them. Adam's grip tightened again, jaw locked. Whatever was out there had been waiting on the other side of this line, like it had known someone would eventually come through. He reached for the weapons toggle, muttering under his breath, "This better not be you, Sarah." The object chasing him closed the gap, like it was built to mock speed limits. Adam's ship was pushing near structural tolerance, the hull vibrating with each engine burn, but whatever was behind him was coasting along without effort. His sensors refused to name it, throwing blank fields and question marks on the screen, as if even the ship's computer did not know what it was looking at. He switched to manual tracking, forcing the system to run a raw visual feed. The camera caught a shape, a shard of metal black geometry, edges too perfect to be natural, darting with small corrections like it was sniffing him out. It had no lights, no registry, just the quiet menace of something designed to kill. The comm flicked again. Same alien resonance as before, but sharper, as though someone was spitting the words, "Human vessel, power down immediately, you will. Not survive another strike against us?" Adam recognized the voice, Captain Yorvak Tren of the Talaran. The man had a reputation. Decorated war hero, known for following orders to the syllable, and infamous for the way he considered human pilots an unpredictable threat. Adam almost laughed, bitter in his throat. "You're not even on my sensors. Captain, must be embarrassing." He hit the secondary throttle, twisting the ship into a controlled spin toward a debris cluster floating between them in open space. The cluster was the wreck of an old Concorde hauler, one of those 1,000-meter cargo carriers gutted decades ago and left to drift. He threaded the ship through twisted beams and shattered cargo pods, the kind of maneuver no autopilot would attempt. Behind him, the black shard broke off, circling wide, giving Adam a sliver of relief. That relief died quickly when his ship's rear sensors lit up red. The Talaran warship had regained partial power and was vectoring for a clear shot at Adams. Jaw clenched. "Fine, you want to see Reckless?" He armed the pulse emitter again, fingers hovering over the trigger. The voice of Sarah came unbidden in his head, the way she had said his name on her last call before the screams cut it off. He hesitated, then fired. The second pulse rippled out, frying what little recovery the warship had managed and spinning it out again. He knew what that meant. Yorvak Tren would mark him as a blood debt enemy now, the kind of enemy a Talaran captain would chase across galaxies for personal honor. There was no undoing that, a sudden clang from the ship's rear cargo. Bay ripped his focus from the fight. Adam froze, staring at the hatch camera feed. The bay doors were sealed, but the motion sensor showed something moving. He grabbed the sidearm he had kept under the console and hit the internal lights. A figure crouched among the cargo crates, a woman in a grease-stained flight jacket, hair tied back roughly, holding a compact plasma cutter like it was an old friend. She looked up at the camera and grinned. "You planning on aiming that pulse cannon at me too? Or are we gonna talk first?" Adam stormed back through the narrow corridor, hand tight on his weapon. "You have 3 seconds to explain who the hell you are and why you're on my ship." The woman shrugged, resting the cutter on her shoulder. "Name's Nora Bennett. You left your bay doors unlocked on Titan Station, so technically this is on you. I'm looking for someone who doesn't want to be found, and rumor says you're about to go places no one else dares. So I hitched a ride." Adam blinked. "You picked the wrong ship. You saw what's chasing me, right?" Nora grinned wider, unbothered. "I saw. And I'm still here, so either shoot me or shut up and fly." He lowered the gun, half because she had nerves of steel and half because the sensors screamed again. The black shard was back, this time closer, weaving through the debris field like it owned it. Adam slid back into the pilot's chair, muttering, "I hate passengers." Minutes later, they cleared the wreck field, but something else appeared. On sensors, a drifting freighter. Massive, cold, no life signs but a perfect emergency beacon signal blinking in regular intervals. Nora leaned over his shoulder, eyes narrowing. "That's a Class 7 hauler, Concorde issue." And those don't just end up floating dead out here. Adam stared at the beacon pulse. He should have ignored it, but his gut pulled. Could be survivors, Nora shook her head. Or it's bait. You think those Talaran care about human life out here? He ignored her, setting a docking trajectory. This is about Sarah, not them. But we're not leaving someone to die if they're still breathing. The docking clamp hit with a metallic thud, echoing through the hull. Inside, the freighter was dark, the only light coming from failing emergency strips along the walls. They moved carefully, weapons drawn, the air heavy with that stale, metallic smell of unpowered ships. Then they found them, the crew. Every single one dead, no wounds from gunfire or explosions. They were laid out on the deck in perfect concentric patterns, hands folded on their chests like someone had arranged them. In the center of the circle was a symbol, burned into the metal with some kind of acidic compound. Nora crouched down, brushing a glove over the pattern. Her voice came out low, tight. I've seen this before. This isn't Talaran. Hell, this isn't anyone in the Concorde. Adam's stomach turned cold. Who, then? She stood slowly, eyes fixed on the symbol. People who were supposed to be extinct. The symbol on the deck glowed faintly under Adam's wristlight, its curves too precise to be random, too old to belong to any conquered species. His stomach felt tight as if someone had coiled wire around his ribs. He stepped back, lowering his weapon slightly. Whoever did this didn't kill them for cargo or credits, Nora straightened, dusting her gloves off, eyes sharp but distant. No, they killed them for a message. Adam frowned. You said you've seen this before. Where she hesitated, jaw twitching like she was biting back something. Pirate ship on the edge of Calder's Belt 3 years back. We went to salvage it, thought we'd hit a jackpot. Whole crew laid out like this, same mark burned into the deck. No records of who attacked, no comm logs, just silence. After that, Concorde flagged it as classified and ordered us to drop it. I dropped it because I like breathing, but looks like someone didn't get the memo. Before Adam could reply, his comm lit up again, an incoming feed from outside. The Talaran captain's voice came through, rough and raw. Human, I do not know what you have stumbled into, but leave it now. This is not your fight. Adam sneered at the comm. You tried to kill me 5 minutes ago, Captain. Forgive me. If I don't trust your warnings, you cross the line. That is your crime. What you are looking at is older than you, older than us. You will die if you stay there, and I will not stop it. The comm cut. Adam turned to Nora. Older than us? She took a slow breath, finally saying it. Ithari, extinct. At least, that's what every history feed says. Bioengineers, hive-level tech, some kind of collective intelligence thing. They were supposed to be wiped out by the Concorde 200 years ago. Adam's eyes locked on her. Supposed to be? She gave a small nod. Supposed to be. They left the freighter, silent, both aware of how wrong it had felt inside. The symbol wouldn't leave Adam's mind, not just because of how deliberate it was, but because it was burned into the metal like whoever did it wanted anyone who found it to know exactly who it belonged to. And it matched the corrupted signal, fragment from Sarah's last transmission. He didn't say that to Nora. Not yet. Back on his ship, Adam opened the old distress logs from Sarah's station. More fragments decoded now that he had fresh Concorde encryption keys from the freighter's core. A voice bled through, Sarah's voice, strained and shaking. Adam, if you're hearing this, don't come. It's not what we thought. They're here. Then another voice layered beneath it, metallic and cold, speaking a language the ship couldn't translate. Then static. Adam sat back, staring at the console until his hands ached from clenching the edges. She's alive! Nora looked at him from the doorway. That's not what it sounds like. He turned, eyes hard. She's alive, and I'm not leaving her out here. Nora folded her arms. You don't get it. You just painted a target. On your back, bigger than any Talaran honor debt. You keep pushing, and this thing, whatever it is, will eat you. And maybe the rest of us while it's at it." Adam stepped closer, voice low but firm. "Then why are you still here?" For once, Nora didn't have a snarky answer. She just stared back, jaw set, then finally muttered, "Because you're either the stupidest man I've ever met or the only one with guts enough to do this, and either way, someone's got to watch your back." The ship's proximity alarm blared, dragging them both to the cockpit. A patrol wing of Talaran interceptors had vector-locked on their position, but instead of weapons hot, they were signaling for private link communication. Adam hesitated, then accepted. Captain Yorvak appeared on screen, scales dull from the damage his ship had taken but eyes burning like fire. "You saved my life on that freighter," Yorvak said flatly. "My warriors will not forget. But hear me, human. The Athari are real. Your sister, if she lives, is not the sister you remember. They will twist her into something else. Leave now, and I will not pursue you further." Adam stared right back at him. "I'm not leaving her." Jorvak's eyes narrowed. "Then you are my responsibility. I will find you before the Athari do, even if I have to hunt you through the black." The feed cut, leaving the cockpit in silence except for the soft ping of the interceptors peeling away. Nora let out a low whistle. "You just made a Talaran captain your stalker. Congratulations. You're officially too interesting to kill." Adam ignored her, punching in a new course. "Coordinates to an old, unlisted Concord research site pulled from the freighter's navigation bank. The data suggested it was an Athari relic station. If Sarah had been taken anywhere, it would be there. When they dropped out of jump near the site, it was worse than Adam expected. The structure floated like a broken crown, massive spires reaching outward, pulsing faintly with some kind of energy he couldn't identify. Chunks of metal rotated slowly around it, each one with that same burned symbol. Nora whispered, "This isn't a ruin. This is alive." Adam stared at it, chills crawling up his spine. "Then let's see what it's feeding on." The docking clamps scraped against something organic. That was Adam's first thought when the ship latched onto the relic station. The impact wasn't metal on metal, it was softer, like gripping into something that yielded slightly before locking. Tight. A tremor ran through the hull as if the station itself had acknowledged their arrival. Nora looked at him from the co-pilot's chair, face pale. "This is a bad idea. I mean, really bad." Adam grabbed his rifle and checked the mag. "Yeah, well, I don't have good ones left." The airlock hissed, and they stepped into a corridor that should have been dark, but wasn't. The walls glowed faintly, veins of dull blue light running through an organic-looking material. It felt wrong under Adam's boots, like the floor had give to it, like cartilage under steel plating. Every step made his shoulders tighten, and Nora kept glancing over her shoulder as if she expected the walls to close in. They moved deeper, past strange shapes lining the walls, cocoons maybe, or pods, each one just large enough to fit a person. The light inside them pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. Adam stopped at one and wiped the condensation from its surface. Inside was a human, or what had once been one. Its eyes were clouded white, skin mottled with black veins that writhed as if something beneath was moving. He staggered back, swallowing. Bile. Nora stepped up behind him, whispering, "This is what they do. They rewrite you from the inside, turn you into a host." They kept going until the corridor opened into a chamber, the walls curved like the inside of a rib cage. In the center, suspended by cables that were too much like tendons, was Sarah. She hung limp, head bowed, eyes closed. Machines, if they were machines, were hooked into her arms and spine, pulsing with that same blue light. Adam's rifle clattered. To the floor as he ran forward, tearing at the cables with his hands, Sarah's eyes snapped open. And for one heartbeat, Adam felt pure relief. Then he saw it, her pupils glowing faintly, and her voice when she spoke wasn't hers, not entirely. "Adam, you came." It was layered, Sarah's tone twisted with something mechanical and cold beneath it. Nora raised her weapon. "She's infected. Look at her eyes. She's gone." Adam turned, fury in his voice. "Shut up. She's my sister." Sarah smiled faintly, almost sweetly. "They showed me everything, Adam. What they are. What we can become." She reached up, gripping the cable above her as if it were an extension of herself. "Let it in, and you'll understand. We can be part of something bigger. No more walls, no more borders, no more fear." Adam's chest clenched, hearing her voice trying to comfort him even as it carried something alien. "Sarah, fight it. You're stronger than this." Her smile faltered, just for a second, and her voice cracked. "I can't hold it back much longer. Please, Adam, before it takes you too." He raised the rifle with shaking hands. "Don't ask me to do this." Nora's voice was low, steady. "If she turns fully, she's gone. If you hesitate, you die. So do I. So does everyone she gets near after this. Make a choice, Adam." His finger hovered on the trigger. Memories slammed into him. Sarah teaching him how to fix their old bike. Sarah crying at their parents' funeral. Sarah laughing when he swore he'd never leave her side. He had left anyway, back when everything fell apart, and she had forgiven him. And now she was begging him to pull the trigger. "Adam," Sarah whispered, and for 1 second, it was only her voice, clear and human. "Please." He closed his eyes, tears streaking down his face, and pulled the trigger. The recoil kicked into his shoulder, and when he opened his eyes, Sarah was still there but slumped, lifeless, cables retracting from her body like severed veins. A tremor rolled through the chamber, a low hum vibrating the walls. Something else was awake now. The Athari presence wasn't tied to one body. It was the station itself. Lights brightened to a painful glare, and a voice that wasn't a voice filled the air, layered and cold. "Human resistance? Irrelevant?" Nora grabbed Adam's arm. "We have to go now." He didn't move at first, staring at Sarah's still body. Then he nodded once and scooped her up, carrying her as alarms echoed through the organic corridors. The pods on the walls split open, spilling half-formed things that clawed their way toward them, each one moving like a person but twisted, wrong. They ran, Adam's boots pounding the soft floor, Nora firing behind them, each shot lighting the passage. The docking hatch loomed ahead when the station shuddered violently, a tendril-like cable snapping down from the ceiling, latching onto Adam's leg. He fell, twisting Sarah's body away from the impact. Nora blasted the tendril with a plasma shot, severing it. "Move, damn it!" They slammed through the airlock, disconnecting from the station. As they pulled away, Adam placed Sarah gently in the medbay, staring at her pale face. She looked peaceful now, like she was finally free. But her last words burned into his mind before it takes you to. Outside, the relic station rippled like it was alive, 1,000 small shapes peeling from it and scattering into space. The Ithari were not extinct, not even close, and now they knew he existed. The ship drifted silently for hours, far from the relic station, while Adam sat in the medbay beside Sarah's body. He had wiped the last traces of alien cables from her skin, her face pale and strangely calm, like she was just asleep. He wanted to say something, an apology, a promise, anything, but the words wouldn't come. The memory of her voice asking him to end it kept replaying, and every time it hit, his chest tightened until he could barely breathe. Nora leaned on the doorway, quiet for once, her usual edge gone. "You did what she asked," she said softly. "I know it doesn't feel like it, but she died as your sister, not as one of them." Adam didn't look up, fingers brushing Sarah's hand. She trusted me to protect her, and I didn't. I left her alone out there. Nora stepped into the room, placing a hand on his shoulder. No, Adam. You came back. That's more than most people ever do. He nodded, but it felt hollow. Console beeped from the cockpit, dragging him back into motion. When he checked the screen, he froze. The Talaran warship, Jorvak's ship, was parked off their starboard side, hull-scorched but operational again. The captain's face appeared. On the comm feed, his expression unreadable. "Human, your fight is done. Leave now and never return. And we will consider our debt closed." Adam stared at him. "The Athari aren't extinct, Captain. They're breeding, building. They used my sister. You really think this ends by just walking away?" Jorvak's jaw tightened. "You carry dangerous truths. You have no allies. If the Concord learns what you've seen, humanity will face exile far worse than before." Adam leaned closer to the screen. "Then tell them yourself. Tell them what's coming." For a long moment, Jorvak said nothing, then finally gave a small, stiff nod. "You are reckless, human. But you saved my life, and you spared no hesitation to save your kin. Perhaps that is why your species is both feared and needed. I will deliver your warning, and I will see you again." The feed cut, leaving silence behind. Nora dropped into the co-pilot's chair with a heavy exhale. "So, what now, hero?" Adam looked at Sarah's badge in his hand, the one she always wore clipped to her research jacket. He placed it gently in a small memory capsule and slotted it into the ship's wall, where it would burn her name every time the engines fired. "Now, we take what we found to the Concord, whether they like it or not." Nora raised an eyebrow. "You planning on strolling into their territory again after all this?" He gave her a tired, thin smile. "They banned us from space because we scare them. Maybe it's time to remind them why." The ship rotated, engines warming as they set course back toward human space. Outside the window, small fragments of metal drifted past, debris from the relic station still clinging to the void. But among them, one shard moved differently, adjusting its vector, tiny thrusters firing in bursts. It followed at a distance, silent and precise, the same black geometry Adam had seen before at the border. A faint pulse ran across its surface, like a heartbeat as it shadowed them into the darkness.